right, all right. Well, welcome to this topic, very one we've been kind of talking about already this morning. That is grief. So I'm going to talk about and present to you guys the actuality of grief. We're going to talk about what is it really and do some interactive type of topics so we can get let this be it. Know that this is a safe space. So when you're talking, we're going to be respectful, but I want you to also let it loose, let it go, okay? I'm going to first introduce Miss Kelsey. I'm going to let her introduce herself, I'm sorry. Miss Kelsey Lewis, and I'll let her tell you what she does, and she's here assisting me today.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I'm an associate of Monet's. I'm an LPC associate, and I work with individuals and couples age 16 and up on mostly depression, anxiety, interpersonal relationships, family dysfunction, communication skills. I also work at a psychiatric facility, so I see more significant mental disorders like bipolar 1 and 2, schizophrenia, substance use disorders. I deal with people with active psychosis, so I see a wide spectrum of individuals. That's all I got. I was like, what else? But yeah, I accept new clients. I'm still accepting new clients virtually and in person. Miss Monet's been saying it for me at each session, so I'll say it. I see people through the week. In the evenings, I have availability, and I like to say that I specialize in effective communication and self-awareness with individuals to kind of let them see how their thoughts and assumptions of themselves and the story they're telling themselves is affecting their behavior and actions. So working to change that.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Kelsey. Yeah. All right. So I know on the PowerPoint it says grief. What is it really? Because we had to give this to at least a week before. Then I started thinking, right? And so I was like, well, God meets you in your grief, even when we don't know it. So mine is going to be on when God meets you in grief. So about me, I am Monet Smith. I'm a licensed professional counselor supervisor. People say, what does supervisor mean? Because we hard on the supervisor. I am, under my license, I carry individuals such as associates who have to obtain 3,000 internship hours before they can become fully licensed. So I've been licensed for 10 years. I've been a supervisor for 4. And so Kelsey is one of the ones who's privileged that works under me, needs me, so she's going to be good because I'm good. All right. I am also a mentor and advocate for teen girls. I am the owner of Healing Deep Roots Counseling. I'm the founder of a nonprofit organization, the Circle of Sisterhood. I'm a woman of God. I'm a mother, and I'm a proud servant to the community. So getting started, I wanted to start with this verse. And I believe when we were on the panel, it was stated. But it sits really well in Romans 8:28 when it says, and we know that all things, he didn't say some, he said all, work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. So I would like a volunteer. So we're going to get started. What does it look like to believe that there is still purpose in your pain? Reread it, ponder on it. Who would like to tell?
For one thing that I immediately thought about was childbirth. Childbirth is one of the most painful experiences I've ever had. But out of that pain came 3 beautiful individuals, so there was definitely purpose in that pain.
Yes. But in the moment, we don't see that, right? So that's why the question said, what does it look like to believe? Because when we're in the pain, we don't see that pain. All we see is anger, hurt, sadness, unfulfillment. Where you at, Lord? How long I'm going to wait? It's been 10 minutes. Where you at? Right? So that's why I'm trying to get what does it believe to where there's still purpose in pain. Anybody else? Right behind you.
I think one of the things that stands out to me is it says, according to his purpose, like the last segment of the verse. A lot of times God is doing things in us and growing us, but to get through there, you have to kind of go through some pain. I always use the analogy of like working out. You have to strain your muscles, break them down in order for them to actually build up. So a lot of times we're getting broken down by God, but that's actually just increasing our faith at the same time.
Pruning season. Yeah. Yes. All right, that was good. I clocked that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? All right, we got opportunity for the others. All right. Go ahead. No, you okay. You got the
I
mic.
don't know. I kind of thought about when she gave the analogy of childbirth. When I think about that scripture and I hear all things, that means to me that God doesn't just work in isolated situations. He's going to work through it good and bad. And it made me think about a snake, right? We look at a snake that is bad, keep it from around me, but there is some good in a snake. If they're around, they keep little rodents away. So we have to we have to find good in every situation, basically what I'm saying.
Yes. Okay, I like that. All right. So we look at, thank you all for sharing those little nuggets. So grief, what is it really? Is it a process? Is it a stuck point? Or is it where you feel you have no way out? So grief isn't just about death. It's about loss itself. If that's loss of people, relationships, friendships too, identity, expectations, and even version of our own self. Loss of self is probably the biggest one. Yeah. So grief, when we say, is it a process? Yes. Is it a stuck point? Absolutely. Is it where you feel like there's no way out? Yes. But it's only a process when it's unprocessed, when it's unsupported, and when it's suppressed, because we good about suppressing some stuff. It can feel like you're stuck, and the word is feel. Our minds want us to believe things that are not true. It's the biggest thing that we have that works everything in our body. You know when you process unto death that you technically don't leave this world until your brain stops? It's a thing in the back of your neck called the brain stem. It's the last thing to go. You can have machines breathing for you. You can have everything still going, but when the brain stem stops, that's it. And that's the only thing that can keep your body going. Okay? So,
Like your feelings aren't facts.
yeah, exactly what it is.
What I feel is how I feel, and I feel that way because that's how I feel. But the next person may not feel the way that I feel. They may not think that my feelings are valid. So we got to start looking at it. Our feelings aren't always facts.
That's right. It's for 3 things I use. Catch it, check it, and change it. I'm going to catch my feelings. I'm going to check it and be like, is this true? No, that's not true. Then I'm going to challenge myself to change that. 3 C's. Catch it, check it, and change it. Okay? All right, so grief shows up emotionally. It shows up physically. It shows up mentally. So what it can look like, anger. Who in here have experienced grief and went to anger? You raise your hand. Okay. What about silence? I just shut down. I don't say anything. Overworking. I'm always at work. If I'm not at work, I'm doing something else. That's like work. Yeah. What about irritability, especially in parenting? And you come home, everybody catch it, right? Everybody. Numbness. I feel numb. That means I'm not feeling at all. Or even the fake mask. Oh, we all wear that. Real well, right? So grief can look visible or it can look present. Who would like to volunteer to let me know what grief has looked like for them? Share something. I should get y'all some popsicle sticks. You like in color blue, you go.
Hi. So I recently lost my grandmother back in December, and for me, it looks like overworking and trying to do a lot of activities in organizations. I'll be like on the committee. I'll be like overworking on like 2-3 committees at one time, and just keeping myself really like busy.
So keeping yourself busy so that you don't have to think. And really, it's keeping yourself busy so you don't have to feel. because when you feel, you hurt. When you feel, you're sad. So I don't know if y'all heard me mention later, it's okay to think about it. It's okay to let tears fall. It's okay to feel it, but feeling is what's helping you towards healing. Just don't stay in it. You find your way out of it, and that can be even through whatever supports look like for you, because everybody grieves differently, and there's no time limit for it. Okay. So, another volunteer. What is one thing you've lost that you've never fully processed? And what is one step you can or have taken towards healing? Yay.
It was me losing my job.
Okay.
That was a loss for me that I didn't fully process. And I believe the reason I didn't fully process it was because I had been with this company for so long and catapulted the company in the direction that it needed to be going. And so I felt like I did so much in that job. And when I lost it, it was kind of almost like I lost myself. But when I'm thinking about it, what I was doing was suppressing my feelings, covering up my feelings. And so now the time that I have from it now, I'm just focused on what are my triggers? Why do I feel this way? Things like that. So
Okay.
those are the steps I'm taking.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Yasmin. She had her hand raised. The lady right here with the sweater.
No, you're fine. So I'm not dealing with grief or anything, but I did end a relationship last year. And my form of grief is like I just get quiet, like silence is one of them. Like I could just completely shut down. And a lot of people like to say like, oh, you hold grudges like against people like when you do that. But I'm like, no, it's just I don't really know how to communicate what I'm feeling, so I just shut everybody out. And so the way that I think I handle that is just accepting it, acknowledging it, and then just laying it before God so that He can heal what it is that's going on inside of me.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Another way, too, to let those feelings out, too, is you can journal. You can write music. You can express it through art. You can do it through creativity, you know how to crochet or sew. You can be able to have your release through your hobbies. Those are talents that God gave you to be able to be a support to someone else. All right? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
My mother's been gone 21 years. And I don't think I fully processed it. But one of the steps I took towards healing is I adopt a mother every year. Somebody that's a mother figure in my life. I always try to do something to make that person feel special. And in doing that, it helps me with my own grief.
Yeah, I love that.
I like that.
Okay, I like that. Anybody else?
So I think grief is it's part of our life. It's a process. Like her recently, I lost my mom, and it wasn't just for me, but my sister and two nieces and my brother-in-law. They took care of my mom. They was with her every day. So as soon as they told us that y'all got to sign a do not resuscitate, the first thing that come to my mind is my two nieces, because my mom has been with them since they were little toddlers, taught them all kind of stuff. And I knew as strong as they were, my niece, the youngest one, still struggled. It was so, my mom was the kind of person that, my sister had 3 little dogs. And one of them little dogs, when I go to visit, one of them little dogs would come in the bedroom. As soon as that door cracked, she'd go flying right up in that bed. And I'm trying to catch her because my mom is weak, right? But that dog fought to get next to my mom. So grief is kind of, it's like you can get over it, but it's okay, you know, to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because I've lost 3 people real close to me, a best friend, a sister,
Yeah.
you know, and it's my sister, I kind of thought I was dealing with it, but every time that I'm headed to my younger sister's house, it just it hits my mind that my nieces never got to meet their auntie, never. And I just know she'd have been crazy about them girl. So you have to learn to deal with it but don't expect that it won't come back. Someday, sometime you'll hit something. It's like the other day, I grabbed I said, no, I can't call my mom. I got, you know. So you learn to deal with it. I think it makes you a better person because we all have grown since COVID.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I keep hearing like there's not a time a time limit on grief. How can you like? How would you go about directing or helping someone process grief?
For each person, it's different. That's why they say there's no time. We know that individual asked, well, and I don't know if anyone has ever heard this before, I'm sure, and I'm being sarcastic with that, is when you gonna get over it? They've been gone now for such and such years. And one thing I've said, well, how long will they be gone?
Yeah, that's sad that when like people like committing like that's sad that people commit suicide like they want to end their own life like guns wound or hang themselves because they lost the family they love, and I want to cop out of life. I'm better off hurting. I'm better off dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I asked that question because my mom, she lost her husband, and it's been a number of years, and I understand where she's coming from, and I'm empathetic, towards her feelings, because that's exactly what I tell her. Let no one tell you when you get done grieving. So it's good to hear you say everyone's different and everyone's process, how they process it is different.
Right. Some people don't start grieving until 2 or 3 years later.
That's how my mom was. She was like so angry in the beginning. It was anger.
Yes.
And, she pushed a lot of people away. It wasn't intentionally or, through malice or anything, but I think it was just a lack of misunderstanding with them. But the first stage is she was so angry. And then the next stage, she went through a lot of stages, but now she's in a better space where she's dealing with everything. But she was angry at first.
Anger is definitely the first stage of grief. And then you have denial, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Her depression was very
Yes. And you could be at more than one stage at a time. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I feel like grief comes in stages. I had a daughter that passed away in 2008, and I found myself at first being silenced, and then I thought about it, and then like every year around April the 16th when she was born, I don't know why, that I have this deep feeling that I have inside. But the way I deal with it is that I think about the good times. I think about the memories, the 15 years that I did have with her. So if you will go in different stages of grief. Even though it's been ever since 2008, I still go through similar stages, but it will pass, and you just try to find the joy that you had that time to spend with that person.
Yes, exactly. Yep. That's actually what I teach my clients. Yes, ma'am.
For me, grief is a way of life. You're born to die. You're not going to live forever. We come here, and one day we're going to die. And like in my case, I had a lot of grief, during the pandemic. I lost 4 brothers, 3 nieces, and 2 or 3 nephews. Now, my oldest brother, he died. Now, his 2 daughters died one day, and he died the next day. So we had 3 funerals at one time, and that was the hardest thing I've ever been through. I think sometimes I'm still struggling with that. The 3 coffins rolling in. You get to the cemetery, they let the hearse bag go, put this one in the ground. Then you come back and put this one in the ground. Then you come back and put this one in the ground. That was hard on me. But by the grace of God, I'm learning to live with it. Because, grief it's not something that's going to go away. It's going to be there forever. You just have to learn how to deal with it. Put it in its proper place and learn how to deal with it and go on with your life. Because grief is a part of your life.
Yes, ma'am. You hit it. Look at you. Yes, ma'am. She sure did. It is. Go ahead.
Sorry, I also think that grief has its triggers. Like in losing a parent, it's like when certain milestones happen, like graduations and weddings and certain life events, it's like I'm happy about this stage of my life, but I'm also like, I wish this person was here to see me experience this, right? I wish I could experience this with this person. So there are certain triggers of happiness even that bring about grief.
Right. And in those counterparts, you find a way to even find joy in those moments. If that is a way to encounter them in those special moments you have, such as traditions. How can I incorporate this person to where it brings joy and not sadness? Yes, ma'am.
Some of the smartest advice I was given when I lost my mother, she said, you never get over it.
Right.
You just learn to live with it. And in living with it, you know, you're going to have your backtracks. Mother's Day weekend is hard for me every year. But you learn how to cope in other ways so that the pain is not so painful.
That's right. That's right. Yep. Anybody else? Good. Look at y'all. Thank y'all. I know that grief is not an easy topic. It's not, and again, we look at it just for death. Loss of self is real. Loss of relationships is real. Loss of just anything that's significant to you will go through its grief stage. It's how do we manage it to make it better? Yes, sir.
We all have to go down this road because we all have to go down this road. Primary grief and death is because of Adam and Eve disobedience. You're told not to eat from a fruit of tree of good and evil, but you disobey God. They're the one who let Satan make a fool out of them that you will be like God. But now there's death, and we have to wear clothes, and we have to live in a real world, and we have to work hard for it.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So we're going to move forward because we got some more questions, all right? But I want to be able to tell y'all the story. This story is related to where God meets this person in grief. This is inspiring to be able for you to tell your story. It's also to see how you can relate to this story or even gain something from this story. Right. So in 2018, her world stood still. Her baby sister, her only sister, innocent and full of life, was murdered while sitting on the back of a truck. 30 years young, and just like that, gone. There were no words that could prepare her for the kind of loss, no training, no degree, no level of faith that could shield her from the impact of grief. Only silence, heavy, suffocating silence. And then the questions echoed. Why her, God? Why that way? Denial sat with her, hurt wrapped around her, anger walked beside her. She had just gotten married 3 months into saying, I do. And grief showed up like it always do, uninvited. As the years passed, she came to difficult realization. She wasn't living, she was just surviving. Carrying a loss that quietly reshaped everything about her. Over the last few years, she accepted challenges, survived leaps and bounds, and at times simply struggled to survive. In 2023, she was bending under the weight of her own internal battles. She was navigating maternal struggles, parenting a teenage daughter. For those that got daughters, y'all know. Searching for work-life balance and slowly losing herself in the process. At the time, she did not realize this was the beginning of a deeper transformation due to her faith being tested. By 2024, she found herself on her knees, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally exhausted. Her husband was in and out of the hospital with doctors not being able to figure out what was going wrong. Her daughter still needed guidance through the challenges of adolescence, and she was searching for self-identity while functioning in survival mode. She was present for others, but absent from herself. Yet she knew she had to trust. She trusted God. Where she once needed faith, she began learning to endure through faith. She fasted, she prayed. Simply getting through each day felt emotionally overwhelming. But her faith involved trust, and that trust carried her forward. Then came 2025, the year of surrender. She had to surrender everything to God, losing her husband in May of 2025 due to cardiac arrest. He left that morning and never came back home. Becoming a widow at 39 years young reshaped her whole entire world. She was now navigating grief while continuing to parent her teenage daughter, helping her finish her own life transitions while attempting to understand the new reality. She was forced to start over, not just externally, but also internally. She was processing profound loss of self, overwhelming stress, and the physical and emotional shifts of perimenopause. Through it all, she surrendered. She surrendered control, expectations, timelines, and a version of the life she thought she would have. Now, stepping in 2026, she recognizes the year of destiny. Destiny is not arriving without scars. It is finding purpose through challenges. It is rediscovering identity after trauma. It is rebuilding balance after emotional and spiritual depletion. It is learning to carry unbearable pain while still holding safe spaces for others. Destiny is walking forward even when the path is uncertain. It is trusting while still feeling afraid. It is holding faith while acknowledging pain. It is a believing that God's purpose remains true even when life unfolds ways she never imagined. The reason why I know this story so well is because she is me. My journey as a therapist has taught me that supporting others does not make me immune to pain. Instead, it has revealed the delicate balance between holding space for others while learning to honor my own emotional experiences. So through every season, every bending, breaking, trusting, surrendering, and now rebuilding, I have learned one profound truth. Therapists cry too. And those tears do not weaken us. They remind us that we are human, we are healing, and that sometimes the very strength that offers the born spaces for others are the ones that we learn to survive ourselves. So God met me in my grief by having faith, trust, surrendering, and even destiny. So where does he meet you? So the first time I told it, I broke down, y'all. But I'm good now. So, any thoughts of where God meets you in your grief?
As you were reading that, I think about 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 3. The God of comfort who comforts us in our troubles so that we can comfort others who find themselves facing those same situations. You're a therapist. I don't know if you were before the story, your experience, but you're helping people now, and you can understand and relate to them and not just speak theoretically about grief, but you've lived it.
Yeah.
And God helps us in our situations so that we can help others.
Exactly.
And I think that's something we have to remember, that we're going through things, we experience things. It's not just about you.
Yes.
God is putting you through something or allowing you to go through something, so the things you learn, how you benefit, there's somebody else who's going to go through it. And you have a lived experience that can definitely be a benefit to them.
Yes, absolutely.
I think what we need to get out of is being ashamed. Excuse me. I think we should all get out of the notion of being ashamed with telling our story. I believe if a lot of us share what we've gone through, we could heal each other.
Yes.
But because of shame and guilt, even confusion and frustration, it keeps us from sharing our story, because we're like, well, what are they going to think about me after I've said this? Are they still going to look at me the same? So, and some people just don't know how to tell their story. So I commend you, my sister, for sharing your story.
Thank you. All right.
Can I ask you to repeat something that you said in your story?
Yes, ma'am.
You started out saying destiny is not arriving surviving without scars. What's the rest of that?
It's finding purpose through challenges.
Okay.
So if you're not familiar or unaware of where God's meeting you in your grief, I challenge you to pray to him and ask him for what you need. Okay? So your pain has purpose even when you don't understand. Your story is not over. You are still becoming. In Isaiah 41:10, it says, "Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. I will help thee. I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness." So where have you seen strength show up for you, even when you didn't expect it? Anybody? Strength show up? I know strength done showed up for a lot of us when we didn't expect it. Yes, ma'am.
I hate to be the only one talking.
It's okay.
But I remember in 2014, I lost my fiance. And because of situations with the ex-wife, I chose not to go to the funeral. Because she was like, the children will be upset, blah, 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 blah. And I thought, right, so I went to the funeral home. I said my goodbyes. The next day, I had to go to work. And I worked at a public library, and we were having our Christmas party. So I thought, okay, God, this is going to be tough because inside I'm chopped liver. But I got to go here and be T-bone steak.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I went, and I remember that morning I sat at my desk and I said, Lord, give me the strength to get through this hour. And I'll be back to talk to you in another hour. And I did that all through the day, but surprisingly, that was probably one of the easiest days that I've ever had, because just when I thought, oh, I'm weakening, I can't do this, time for me to go pray again. And you realize that God is there, but I think you realize it even more when he meets you in grief, because you feel that presence, that hand picking you up. And even though it's mentally and emotionally, it's very important.
Yes. Yes, we're behind you.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my past relationship last year. There was a lot that went into it, but a lot of it surrounded in the workplace. And my ex at the time also worked at my job. I got him a job there, worst mistake possible, but it's okay. So when I was going through all of that, I had to go to work the next day around him and around people who were lying about me. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. So that day when I went through everything, I just got down on my hands and knees and I just prayed to God. Like, I don't know what else to do. I have these lies that are being spread about me. I have labels being put above my head. Like, I don't know what to do. But Lord, give me strength. And so at a time where a lot of females, they would probably be depressed, losing weight, angry, surprisingly, I wasn't angry. Like, it was easy for me to go to work and just continue about my day. I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I just continued. Was I hurt? Yes. But God knew that this needed to happen and it was going to happen. But He held me through all of that. And so for months, for weeks, for days, I wasn't depressed about anything. Like, He held me throughout that entire time. So I feel like that's where strength showed up for me. Where it possibly wouldn't for many people, it did show up for me.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
If strength didn't show up, you could have lost your job.
Yes.
You would have lost your job. You probably would have lost your mind.
Mine, exactly.
Yes.
You have yourself checked.
Yes.
Catch it, check it.
Change it.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Thank you. Clock it. All right, so volunteer for this question. When have you felt closest to God in your pain? Because everybody's pains look different. And if you don't want to say it out loud, it's okay for you to write it down or think about it so that you can have that for you, because we need to know when we feel closest to God in your pain. I've told you how I feel close to him in mine.
I'll share.
Okay.
My fiance died the day before Thanksgiving. And, you know, of course, Thanksgiving, all the families around and everything. And originally I chose, I'm not going to go anywhere. I went to church because we always had an early morning Thanksgiving prayer service because nobody wanted to come out Thursday night. And I went to church, and that gave me peace. But I said, well, the rest of the day, I'm going to be a hermit. But my cousins wouldn't let me. They said, if you don't come to us, we'll come to you.
Yes.
And in that time between church and the time that they got there, I said, Lord, you know, you're all I have left. I don't have anything else. My children were grown and on their own, and they were all working that day. So it was just me and God. And I think that is when I felt closest to him, because it's like, Lord, you're all I have, but then again, you're all I need. And I think when they came, I had peace about it. And I could get through the rest of the day and enjoy their company, because it's like almost like God had an arm around me going, it's going to be okay, I got you. And that's when I felt closest to him in my pain.
Okay, thank you. And he's always there, right? We just have to notice it. Have to notice it.
I think we can also feel close to God when we're going through something, when he sends the people that he has set up in place for us.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, one of the 9 fruits of the Spirit is kindness.
Yes.
And kindness, that is God's heart. So if I'm going through something and I have those people, like you were saying, who can come to me when I'm really in the thick of things, and they can show me that type of kindness, to me, that is God being close to me.
Yes. And I believe in our last session, Kelsey had spoken on how people can show up for you and be there for you. And you have some that don't have that support. You have some that don't have. So the encouragement is for us to build that in the community. Instead of asking and say, well, if you need anything, let me know. Just do it. I can go to your house, or I can be able to see you and see, hey, let me just go get these groceries for you. Let me send you something to eat. Let me come wash the dishes or do some laundry. I'm a volunteer. I'm not going to ask you. Because if it's somebody like a lot of us, we're going to be like, I don't need nothing. I'm okay. I'm fine. Right?
My professor in college, I've been seeing it here on social media, but her breast cancer has come back. And so she has the heart of God. She chases after God, and she's even experienced grief in her life. But what she's experiencing now is God's heart, his kindness. And there are people that are just flocking to her, and they're not asking her what she needs. Yeah. They're showing her, they're giving her. And that means everything to her. And it touched me, because I'm like, wow, you know, these people are actually showing up. You know, you have those people who say, oh, I'm praying for you, girl. I'll pray about it. No, if you're going to pray about it, we need to pray right now. Yeah. Like, don't give me no prayer an hour later, or, you know, 2 days later. I need the prayer now. If you're going to pray for me now. So, yeah.
Yes.
I can keep talking.
Yes. Uh-huh.
You know, she's right. I'm so glad she brought this. Often I tell people that I'm so glad for the people that God put in my life. And for that question, it's the people that's in my life. Friends, family. I've got ex-classmates. I get a scripture from every single day. And sometimes when you at that point, you got to stripper you needed that day,
Yeah.
you know, to carry you through.
To carry you through.
But, you know, we're social beings. You need people.
Yeah.
And when God puts somebody in your life, it's the right one.
Right. The resources on this earth is pure for a reason. Right. It's not to say that they're all healthy resources, but they're resources, and you have to find what's the fit for you. And remembering you're not being shaped, you're being built. So my encouragement to each and one of you that has experienced grief, which we all have, is to write your story so that you can in turn be a blessing to someone else. Any questions? Thank y'all for y'all time. I'm opening up for questions. Yes.
I'm so impressed with you guys. At y'all age, y'all have decided to serve.
Yes. Thank you.
You know, whole career is what? By serving people. And you'll give them. People don't realize.
Yes. Thank you. Any other questions? Any?
Our pain has purpose.
Yep. If anything else you don't take away, take that away.
That is really comforting to know that your pain has purpose.
Yep. That's why I decided to tell my story, so that I can not only just tell you, but I can actually show you.
And you're healing through telling us.
Exactly. Yes, because I'm right here at a year. My husband passed a year ago. This May. Yeah. Any other questions? Y'all been good. Y'all are quiet. Okay. Y'all just marinating. Well, I do thank y'all for y'all time. This is on grief. We have 4 minutes left before we go into a break, and then y'all have y'all last speaker for today. Y'all been phenomenal, and thank y'all for listening to me. Can you hear me? Okay, so. All right. Oh, thank you. Look at my upper lip. What's wrong? It's all blotchy and stuff. Oh, oops, I forgot that is my hot mic. Right? He be moving slow though. And when you talk, you gotta talk to the microphone. I was gonna let you just do what you do, but you gotta talk to the microphone too. You gonna tell everybody else to talk to the microphone, but you ain't talking to the microphone. I'm trying to find your display. Your settings. I have no idea. On the Apple thing?
Yes, it should be down. Where's your bar?
Do you go down?
Is yours where it pops up?
Oh,
There we
right
go.
here.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I think it's to Safari.
Oh, you don't have it on the actual. Okay, is this over here?
Yeah, right there.
There we go. And then we'll do extend it out.
So if I want to go, just hit this, right? Okay. Thank you. All right. Is this on? Can you hear me? Oh, do you have a worksheet? Do you have a worksheet? No? Okay. It's okay. I got you. You're welcome. Thank you. All right. This is on, right? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Hello, everybody. Here we are at the final presentation already. All right, so who all was here for the Q&A? I'm just curious. This morning, we were all here? Okay, so we're all acquainted. But if we're not, my name is Jewel. I am a licensed therapist. I have been practicing for 13 years now. I've done just about a little bit of everything, school-based, family therapy, couples, individuals, community-based, all of the things. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about myself today because you have the slides there that you can read later. So let's talk about what we're going to explore today. I cannot see, I see it there, but I can't see it on here. Okay, so I'm going to be looking back and forth. All right. So we're going to talk about stress. Okay, so when I learned that I was going to be speaking on this topic today, I was like, okay, so I think that stress is a universal thing, right? We all have been stressed or burnt out at some point in our lives. And I was like, what am I going to talk about stress and burnout that people probably already don't know? So hopefully you'll find something in this presentation helpful or useful. So we're going to talk about stress, what that looks like, how that manifests physically, emotionally, and cognitively, how that looks like.
what that shows up as. We're going to talk about burnout, what that also looks like, how it shows up and manifests in the body. And then we'll talk about spiritual burnout because that's also real and that's also a thing. We'll talk about that. So we'll talk about the signs and symptoms of stress, burnout, and spiritual burnout. And then we'll talk about how to manage stressors. And then we'll talk about benefits of managing stress. And then at the very end, we'll talk about how do you know when it's time to seek help. And then at the second to the last page, I have some resources, some local resources. So if that's something that you might find yourself needing, or perhaps maybe somebody in your community might need. So that'll be something that you can also reference. All right, so what is stress? So stress is our body's natural response, I should have made this different, but to a perceived threat or demand, but actually also to a real stress, to a real demand or a real threat, right? So if you have been like laid off, or if your car broke down, things like that, right? That whether it's perceived, whether you think you're gonna get laid off or whether you got laid off, like that can definitely contribute to stress, right? So I'm curious, because I don't want to sit up here and just talk at you guys, so I want this to be interactive, so I hope you guys will engage me. But I'm curious, can I hear from just maybe like one person? How do you know when you're stressed? Like how does your body speak to you? Like what happens? What are some signs that shows up for you when you're feeling stressed? Does anybody want to share?
My stomach churns.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I can drink water and it upsets my stomach.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Racing heart, yeah,
Mine is stomach, racing heart, sweat,
yeah,
sweating.
yeah, okay. Yeah,
I gotta keep it.
yeah. And for me, for me, that looks like when I start making mistakes, that's when I know I'm stressed. I'm like, okay, I'm making too many mistakes that I wouldn't normally make. So our body does speak to us, right? So let's talk about, I pushed too far, some of the factors that contributes to stress. So that might look like school, if you're school aged and you're in school and you're navigating school, sports, extracurricular activities, right? Or even just navigating schools and chores, right? Or work, if you have a full-time job, or if you're an entrepreneur and you're in business for yourself, there's a lot of stressors that can accompany that. Family obligations, right? Whether your mom, your daughter, your son, your cousin, auntie, uncle, godparent, all of that, right? There's expectations as it relates to family relationships. Actually, that's under the second one, underneath that, right? Relationships. All of our relationships require things of us, whether it's time, effort, right? So there's expectations there that can sometimes contribute to stress. Parenting, right? There's no manual for parenting, so the stressors that you might have for if you have a kid who's like 10, different stressors than you would if you had a kid who was like 18 or even 4. And then financial. Have y'all seen the prices of gas lately? Like, right? Right? So financial stressors or legal issues, and it doesn't even have to be like big issues. It could be as little as getting a speeding ticket or getting a parking ticket, right? Now you kind of have to figure that out, or spend money that you were not intending on spending. Or physical health decline, that also contributes to stress. Life transitions, sometimes, we get married, divorced. We might move, get a new job, right? Get a new supervisor who now is doing things completely different than how your old supervisor did it. Now you got to figure out everything from scratch, right? Moving to a new city, loss of a family member, loss of a spouse, unhealthy boundaries, right? That also contributes to stress, and then overfunctioning, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. But as we've gone through this list, I'm curious, is there anything else that makes you feel stressed that maybe that's not on this list? Or are there things on this list that makes you stressed out? Yeah? Would you care to share?
Yes, right now I'm going through, thank you. Right now I'm going through 3 transitions at the same time. I'm fairly recently married. I lost my job in February, and I'm going through health transitions at the same time. So it's kind of like, okay, I am riding a bicycle here, and I don't feel like I'm going anywhere.
Yeah.
But, you have to realize that stress is a part of life. How you deal with it
Exactly.
is the difference.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. Wow, I have happy fingers today. All right, so let's talk about physical symptoms of stress, right? So when we are stressed, it shows up in our bodies, right? And sometimes we feel it before we even have the words to articulate or to say, oh my gosh, I'm feeling really stressed. So for some people, that might look like headaches, muscle tension, fatigue, maybe feeling kind of tense or tight in your shoulder, difficulty sleeping, or emotional symptoms maybe might be a little bit irritable, your fuse might be a little bit shorter than normal, feeling overwhelmed, tearfulness. Anybody cry when they feel overwhelmed or stressed? You just, right? That's like a great release, you know? Difficulties concentrating or having difficulties with focus. And then some of the behavioral or cognitive symptoms, so maybe isolating from others where you just kind of want to be by yourself, right? You're like, I don't want to answer the phone, I don't want to go to brunch, I don't want to do this, I just want to be alone. Or procrastinating, right? And there's different forms of procrastinating. Someone told me recently that they've been reading, they love to read, but they've been reading like a book per day. That's a lot, right? And that's kind of like a form of escapism, right? When we start procrastinating, we don't want to do the things, a form of avoidance. Or even under eating. Anybody ever deal with that? Or overeating? Maybe you're stressed and you're going to the pantry a little bit more, or you're stressed and you're like, I don't have the appetite. Yeah. Oh, we already talked about this, but snapping at people, right? Especially the people closest to you because your fuse is so short. Or even neglecting self-care. So that might look like, I'm gonna do the laundry tomorrow. I don't wanna wash my hair. Like, the dishes can stay in the sink for one more day. Anybody else, anything else that you would add to this list that's not already on here?
There's one you didn't discuss that I'm dealing with also, that increased screen time.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much I was attached to my phone until my husband said, everywhere you go, you had that phone, and I realized he's right.
Yeah.
It's like I can't part from it, so I'm trying to wean myself
Yeah.
from screen time.
Yeah, that's really good insight. Thank you for sharing. So now okay, I didn't realize the letter is gonna be a little washed out, but let's talk about burnout, right? So let's say someone says to you, or you say to someone, oh my gosh, I'm so burnt out, right? Like, what does that look like? When you think about burnout, what comes to your mind? Yeah. 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 Thank you. Anybody else? So burnout is not just being tired, right? It's what happens when we have given for so long that we have nothing left to give. In the first presentation that I did, someone said feeling empty. They kind of likened burnout to feeling empty, right? So you've given so much that you don't have much to give. So some of the things that can contribute to burnout, so excessive workload, right? Or perhaps maybe having some struggles with saying no. Anybody here sometimes struggle with saying no? Sometimes?
I feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a therapist, and sometimes I feel bad for saying no. I still say no, though, but I feel.
I'm learning it's healthy to
Yeah,
say no.
absolutely. Yeah,
It feels good too.
yeah. Or even serving others while neglecting yourself, right? It's so easy to do for others, and it's easy to kind of put yourself on the back burner, right? You ever say to yourself, like, I'm gonna go for a walk this week, and then you don't go for the walk, and then you say, I'll just do it tomorrow, right? No big deal. But if you said that you'd show up for somebody else, you probably would show up, right? Because there's that level of accountability also, right? But for yourself, who's gonna call you out and say, you didn't go on that walk today, right? You just do that tomorrow. So very easy to kind of put yourself on the back burner. Or even like having an absence of adequate support, or perhaps you have people in your life, but maybe the support that they're providing just doesn't match the level of support that you need. And then also lack of control over your responsibilities or schedules, so having that lack of autonomy. So, and the other one up there talks about doing work that doesn't align with your values. So I remember, I'll share a little story. I remember I was working at this job and I told my supervisor, I was like, I don't want to work with kids 0 to 5. I love kids, but that ain't my thing. Don't give me that. Would you know it? She gave me a 4-year-old boy and he was nonverbal. He couldn't speak. And I was like, that's not fair. That's not fair to me. That's not fair to the family because I'm not going to do great work, right? So, did I do something? Okay, there we are. Right, so these are all of the signs, right? These are all of the things that can contribute to burnout. So as you think about stress and burnout, right? So it's like stress is right here. And then burnout is like another level, right? When we don't really take care of the things that's stressing us and we don't have those like safeguards in place, right? Then that contributes, that escalates that level of stress. Okay. It's not going. It's okay. I'll just use. Okay. I can just use this. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about spiritual burnout, right? So when I was thinking about this presentation, I was like, all right, so how does spiritual burnout show up, right? And I feel like when we think about burnout, I don't know about you, but the first thing that comes to my mind is like work, family obligations, life. I don't really think spiritual burnout, right? So when you think about spiritual burnout, like what comes to your mind? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Anybody? Spiritual burnout? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I see spiritual burnout as doing so much for God that you have no time to spend with God.
That's so good. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Thank you. Yeah. 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 So this is my version of spiritual burnout because I don't know if there's an actual version of spiritual burnout, but so spiritual burnout can happen when we are serving out of depletion rather than fulfillment, right? And that can happen for so many different reasons. So for example, maybe overcommitting in ministry roles, right? Maybe you're serving in all other places, doing all other things. Again, going back to that word boundaries, like not having boundaries or not having healthy boundaries around serving or what that looks like. Of feeling obligated to serve rather than feeling called or just feeling like this is what I want to do and this is how I want to be involved. And again, not having like healthy or supportive system within the faith community, or even perfectionism or people pleasing, right? Like I want to do this so that people can think that I'm reliable, right? Or I want to be needed, right? So those are all the things that can kind of contribute to that. But let's talk a little bit more about that as it relates to maybe like overcommitment, right? Can anybody relate to that? And as far as like serving in different places and doing all the things? Yeah, yeah. I remember before I moved to Dallas, I was living in Minneapolis, and I was going to this church, and I was at that church for 8 years. And at that time, we didn't have a church building, so we were serving at a school, using our school auditorium. So you have to leave the school the way you found it. So that means you have to set up and you have to tear down, right? So we'd get there at 6 a.m. and leave at 2. So at that time, it was like the 9 and the 11 service. So if you serve for one, you have to serve for both. You can't do one or the other. So I don't have a choice. I have to serve for both, right? And I remember I was I was a greeter, I was an usher, I was a follow-up team, I was on the photo team. I was doing all of the things, right? Anybody want to guess what happened? Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. All right. Okay, so how spiritual burnout can manifest, right? So physical symptoms. So again, that might look like low energy, fatigue, maybe even got enough sleep, but you just feel tired, right? Headaches, muscle tension, and you just find that maybe you're getting sick a little bit more than usual, not because you're serving at church, right? But just like because you're overexerting yourself. And then emotional symptoms, maybe feeling disconnected from faith. Someone said in my last presentation that maybe they would find themselves wanting to pray, but just like the words it's just not happening. Feeling irritable, frustration, or even resentment. And then some of the behavioral symptoms. So maybe having some difficulties concentrating or staying in the present, or just kind of having some critical thoughts, right? Whether it's about yourself or just like I don't want to say system, but like the dynamic, right? Having some critical thoughts about that, or even avoidance of spiritual practices, right? So that's what that can look like. Maybe like not wanting to pray, right? And things like that.
I can truly say that I experienced that, and I'm glad to know that there is a word that backs it up.
Yeah.
I told you to leave this over. But my apologies. But I'm glad to know that there is a word behind it, because I found myself stressed out. I
Yeah.
found myself burnt out. But I also found myself sitting in my quiet time, trying to give God some time. Then I get distracted by something else.
Yeah.
I couldn't even pray sometimes.
Yeah.
I couldn't even read his word sometimes. And I'm like, what is going on with me? Like, I felt really bad
Yeah.
that I could not give my full self
Yeah.
to God. But knowing now that I was actually experiencing spiritual burnout,
Yeah.
Candace, you need to give yourself some grace, girl.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why words are, some people are like, I'm not for labels. I don't like labels. But sometimes when there's labels and there's words for things, it makes sense, right? And it kind of normalizes like what you're experiencing, right? Like sometimes maybe clients who have ADHD and they're newly diagnosed and they're like, oh, that's why I do that. And not because there's something wrong with me.
But I made it even worse for myself, feeling bad. Like,
Yeah.
why can't you spend the
Yeah.
proper time you need with God? You can't even sit here 2 minutes
Yeah.
and be in his presence. But to know that I was actually spiritually burnt out,
Yeah.
that makes me feel a little bit,
Yeah.
it makes me feel better.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So there's this book called The Body Keeps the Score. Has anybody heard about that? Have you heard or read that book? If you haven't, I recommend it. I'm still getting through it. It's a lot, but it's a good book. It talks about how stress and trauma is stored in the body, right? So stress and burnout, like they're not just thoughts, like they live in the body and we feel it before we even have the words to like label that and say, okay, well, I'm feeling stressed because perhaps you've already been irritable, your fuse has already been short, right? You've been snacking a little bit more or not eating as often as you usually do. So this is kind of how our nervous system speaks to us, because obviously our bodies can't talk, but this is how our body talks to us. All right, so this is my favorite part of the presentation because I love illustrations. So this here is called the window of tolerance. So imagine you're going on a walk, right? You're going on a nice evening stroll and you see this house and it has really big windows, floor to ceiling windows, right? And then you walk and you go down to the other house and it has a window, but it's a little bit smaller, right? So we all have our window of tolerance, and when we're within the window in there, that's where we're calm. We have clarity, we have compassion, right? We're regulated, we're able to do all the things. Maybe like our phone breaks or the stove doesn't work or the tire's flat. You're able to navigate those stressors because you're inside of your window, right? So now everybody has a different window of tolerance. Some people have a wider window, some people have a more narrow window. But the thing about that is, like, our window can expand, right, over time. So if you have a narrow window, you're not stuck with a narrow window forever, right? So there are things you can do to expand that. So now when we go outside of that window, essentially our nervous system is stretched, right? Because within that window, that's where we can function in a regulated state. So when we go above that, we're in hyperarousal, right? Or basically our body, our nervous system is in flight or fight mode, right? So that's where we feel anxious, overwhelmed, irritable, maybe might have a little bit of impulsivity, feeling impulsive, or even kind of lashing out at people. Maybe a little bit of like emotional aggression, feeling kind of defensive, like nobody can't say anything to you. And then when we go below the window, then we're in hypoarousal, we're in low arousal. So think about hyperarousal as your senses are super awake and they're on 10, right? And think about hypoarousal as your senses are asleep, right? So hypoarousal, when we're in that state, we end up feeling disconnected. Some people use the term like maybe they feel numb or they're going through the emotions or maybe they're dissociating, right? So that is low arousal. So the way that I liken this state is, think about when you're on your computer and you have too many tabs open, right? I always have too many tabs on my computer, but when you have too many tabs open and your computer starts to buffer, right? It starts freezing. maybe the fan on the inside is really loud or it starts getting really warm, right? Well, this one doesn't do it, but my old computer used to get real hot, right? So when it starts happening, your computer is saying, this system is overloaded. We need to close some of the tabs or we need to restart the computer, right, to kind of give it a little bit of a breather. So that's what our nervous system is saying to us when we're underneath our window, right? And what I hear from people a lot is people use the term lazy. Like they'll say, oh, I'm so lazy, right? Like I can't, I know I should wash my hair. I know I should do this, but I just don't want to. Well, it's not because we're lazy. It's because literally our nervous system's like checked out because we're not feeling much, right? So let's talk about, so pull out your worksheet. So based on what we've talked about, maybe like one or two people can share if you feel led to. What are some signs that lets you know that you are above your window? Like how do you know, based on what we've talked about, how would you know if you're above your window? Okay. Yeah. You start passing out. Okay. Yeah, that's a significant sign. Yeah. Yeah.
Like being in school and having a lot on my plate and just trying to do everything,
Yeah.
and then someone else puts something on my plate, I'll just like kind of just like
Yeah.
get winded. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much.
Yeah. So that's like low arousal, right? Where you're like, there's too much going on. I just can't. Like I'm done. Like shut down. Yeah. Anybody else? For maybe above the window for hyper arousal? It's like when you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed.
It's kind of like at work, like when they're throwing extra work on you, and you have a deadline, and you're not gonna meet the deadline, so I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, for sure. So now let's talk about the bottom here. It says what brings me back, right? So let's talk about that because when you're underneath your window, we don't need to come back to the top of the window or to the middle even. We just want to come back in the window, right? So the things that you're going to do to come back from low arousal, right, is going to be different than what you're going to do to come back from like hyper arousal, right? We can't do the same thing. So someone in my last presentation was saying sometimes when I'm going through a lot, I just don't want to talk to nobody. I just want to do anything, right? So that would be a hyperarousal state because if we're hyperaroused, right, we're anxious, we're overwhelmed, our senses are on 10, then we need a little bit of disconnection, right? But when we're in low arousal, we're already disconnected, we're already feeling numb, then we need to do things that's going to engage our senses, right? So that might look like, and that's different for different people, right? So engaging your senses could look like, I'm gonna watch a really funny movie and I'm just gonna laugh till my sides hurt, right? Or I'm gonna watch a sad movie and I'm gonna let myself cry because when we're in low arousal, we're not really feeling much, right? The feelings are numbed, so we need to activate that. For some of my clients, it's maybe like I'm gonna play a game on my phone, right? Because you're using your fingers, you're using your eyes, you're listening to the sound, you're strategizing on how to play this game on your phone, right? And then also for hyper arousal, one of the things that can also be helpful, again, because we kind of talked about the body, how our body feels this, right? So doing some breath work can be helpful. Anybody here ever do like pace breathing? Like maybe you breathe in for 4, like you hold it, you breathe out for 4. Yeah. So when we're doing that, what we're doing is we're letting our nervous system know that we're safe, right? Because when we're breathing, that's a physiological thing, right? So we're reducing our heart rate, we're reducing our blood pressure, so that is sending signal to our nervous system that, okay, we're calm. Because when we're in the hyper state, our nervous system is not here anymore, it's here, right? So when we're practicing like pace breathing, right, breath work, then it kind of brings our nervous system back down to homeostasis, if you will, or kind of back into that window, right? So hopefully this is helpful. So I want you guys to take this home and just kind of think about it. Like, what are some things when I'm above or below my window? What can I do that brings me back into my window? Okay.
So you said hypo disconnect. Are you disconnecting with the hypoarousal?
So no,
This is a hyper.
so hypo is low, right? So when we're in low arousal, we're already disconnected, we're feeling numbed, we don't want to do the things, so then we have to engage our senses, right? So when we're hyper, that means we're already too connected, right? There's too many things going on. Then we kind of need to do the opposite. So that's where we kind of slow our breathing down and practice some grounding techniques.
Thank you for
Of course. Now let's talk about boundaries. I know that was one of the things that was on the list that we talked about before. I'm curious, does anybody here like feel guilty with setting boundaries sometimes? Yeah, yeah. Why do you think that is? What are some barriers that get in the way of you saying no, or I can't do this right now, maybe tomorrow? What impacts that?
Sometimes people will make you feel that if you set boundaries, you're being selfish. You know, instead of looking out for the needs of others, you're more focused on yourself.
Okay, that's good.
And I have noticed that since I have started setting boundaries, people look at you like, you ain't gonna do what I just asked you to do. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing about boundaries, right? Boundaries keep us safe, right? They keep us safe. They keep our relationships safe. They protect us. I always think about this when you go on a beach vacation in the water and they have those, I don't know what it's called, but they have those really big balls and it's in the ocean and they're like, don't swim past this line because if you do, we're not coming to save you. Like swim at your own risk, right? So those keep us safe. So when you think about boundaries, it's like it is our responsibility to enforce our boundaries, right? So now let's talk a little bit about boundaries versus requests because I feel like those two can kind of get conflated and we can kind of mix them up a little bit. Can anybody think about what a request is? Like, how would you know what a boundary is and what a request is? Yeah, yeah, that's really good. Yeah. So think about it. If you say, for example, if you say my bedtime is 10 o'clock, right? That's when I go to bed because I have to wake up at 6. So you've told your friends, girl, don't call me after 10:30 because I'm not going to be available. That's a request because you can't control what other people do, right? So now you enforcing that boundary that looks like someone calls you at 10:15, maybe they forgot. So you can say, you're always ignoring my boundaries, right? Well, we don't have to answer the call. That's our boundaries, right? Saying, you know what, it's 10:30, I'll call you back tomorrow, right? Or if you feel really guilty, you can just shoot a quick text and say, hey, let's talk tomorrow, right? But that's how you enforce your boundaries, like, and that's our responsibility to do that, right? Other people cannot do that for us, right? So there's that. But let's talk a little bit more about barriers to setting boundaries. So for example, a lot of times what I see is like maybe people not wanting to disappoint other people, right? Anybody relate to that? If they ask me to serve, if I'm asked to serve or asked to do this, like if I say no, like maybe they'll be disappointed or maybe they won't ask me to do things anymore. Yeah. Or even like I should be able to handle that. Sometimes maybe we have this like internalized pressure where maybe nobody puts pressure on us, but we put the pressure on ourselves of like, well, I should be able to do this, or it means X, Y, and Z if I don't do this, right? And I think there's one here that says, I don't want to seem selfish. Didn't someone just say that? Yeah. About not wanting to be selfish? Yeah. Or even like they need me, right? Sometimes we think, well, if I don't do this, nobody else will do it. Or if I don't do this, everything will fall apart. Or it's not going to be as good enough if I don't do that. Because sometimes if we can be honest, sometimes we have a thing of like wanting to feel needed, you know? I've had situations where people say, well, if people don't need me, then where does that leave me, right? If they don't have no use for me, then where do I fall in that? So now let's talk about overfunctioning or overperforming. When you think about overfunctioning or overperforming in relationships, whether it's at church or at home, at work, in your personal relationships, what do you think of when you think of overperforming or overfunctioning?
Trying to do everything.
Yeah, yeah. So overfunctioning, right? When we do more, when we take on more than our share, right? Because it's like, well, we can't do everything, right? So once you start doing more than actually what's required of you, well, eventually that's going to lead to burnout, right? Because you can only do that for so long. So some of the drivers that contribute to overfunctioning, right? So fear of letting other people down, guilt, fear of conflict, people pleasing, or even identity drivers, right? Maybe you're used to being the strong one, or maybe you know someone who is the strong one, or you are the strong one. Or even a history or pattern, right? Maybe for some of us, like we have been assigned responsibilities at a young age, right? So you've already know how to take on too much too soon. So that's just kind of the role that you play, right? Because that's what you've been doing for so long. So now let's talk about navigating stress and burnout. Like what to do when you're already in it, and then we'll talk about what to do before you get in it. So when you're already in that space of stress and burnout, what can be helpful is, we were talking about labels earlier, so just putting a name to that, right? So saying like, oh, I'm burnt out, right? And again, if we go back to the computer analogy, it's not a moral failure, right? Like we don't have unlimited capacity, right? So if we're burnt out, that just means that our system has been over-functioning for so long that we don't really have much space left, right? We don't have enough space on our iPhone. It's not gonna let you take any more pictures. I don't know about you, but I'm always deleting pictures off my phone because Apple wants more space, right? So if we are over-functioning, that's what that's gonna look like. We cannot do that forever, right? And then also identifying your personal warning signs before you hit your limits. Can anybody think of any of their personal warning signs? Like, okay, this is I can tell that burnout is starting to happen.
I can honestly say that when I lost, how can I put it? When I lost my job, it didn't come as a surprise to me.
Okay.
But it came as a surprise because I wasn't expecting it, if that makes sense. But what I'm saying is sometimes we may not want to protect our boundaries, and God loves us so much that he will do things to cause certain things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I believe that I wouldn't have experienced the burnout and all of the stress that I did while I was on my job had I listened to God when he was telling me, okay, you've done what you're supposed to do. Now it's time to pick up, move on to your next assignment.
Yeah.
However, I stayed because it was comfortable. I loved the people. They became family. I was doing really great, but I was burnt out. I was stressed. And God, he saved me.
Yeah.
His boundary was my protection.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that. And then also like auditing your commitments, right? Like what do I have to do? What gives me life? What fuels me? When I do this, I feel so rejuvenated, right? And then what is draining, right? If something is super draining, well, maybe question that, like, do I have to do this, or am I just doing this because that's what's expected of me, right? And maybe there are certain things you may have to do, but you can still do in a lesser capacity. But when you don't audit your commitments, you're just doing things out of habit, right? And those very habits can be contributing to burnout. So I put on here, change the structure, not the scenery, because this makes me think about when we're stressed or burnt out and we go on vacation, we're like, oh, I'm gonna take 5 days and go to Hawaii. That's great. But what happens when we get back from vacation 2 weeks later? You know, all those things start creeping up, right? So we're not really changing the structure, we're just changing like the location. So we really have to think about, what are my commitments? What gives me life? What drains me, right? How can I audit that?
And we have to be disciplined.
Yeah.
You have to be disciplined in a thing for you to succeed.
Absolutely. Thank you. So then before, preventing stress and burnout before you get there. So one, knowing your limits before you exceed them, right? So for me, with work, I'm like, I cannot see 25 therapy clients every week. I can't. I cannot sustain that, right? So my limit is 20, and I'm not going above that unless if it's an emergency and I have to, but I know that's not something I can do on a weekly basis, or I'm gonna burn out and then I'm not gonna be any good for my clients, right? They're just gonna get the half competent version of myself, and that's not helpful, right? So again, practicing saying no as an act of stewardship, right, of yourself, scheduling rest. Does anybody here schedule rest, or do you just rest whenever you can fit it in? Yeah. One of my clients said something that I thought was so just awesome, and I'm going to share that with you. She said, we work from rest, not to rest. If you think about it, you're like, okay, well, I'm working so I can rest, right? But no, it is through rest that we work. And I was like, girl, that is so good. So I was like, you know what, that did something for me. So I wanted to share that with you all. And then also here, right, like serving in one role with excellence rather than many roles, and like digging yourself more into the ground. Building in recovery time, not just vacation, right? So it's like every week, like what am I doing for self-care? Every time I end my therapy sessions with clients, I always ask them, like, what are you doing for self-care? And people always say, I don't know. Or it causes them to think, right? Because again, we put ourselves on the back burner. Some people will say, oh, I do self-care once a week, but it's like, well, maybe every day, every other day, it can just look like sipping a nice cup of tea in silence, right? It doesn't have to be this like one weekly thing. So now let's talk about stress management. Of course, there's more ways on here, but social support. So connecting with people who are safe supports for you, not isolating yourself when you're under stress, because I know that's easy to do. And then cognitive reframing, right? So challenging the thoughts that you're thinking. Are those thoughts helpful? Is it contributing to more stress, right? And then nervous system regulation. So we talked about deep breathing, grounding techniques. Anybody familiar with grounding? You know what that looks like? Yeah, exactly, right. So grounding is, yeah.
Being outside with no shoes on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have tried that.
Okay, you might, yeah.
And I have actually felt better after I have done that.
So grounding is basically just anchoring yourself in the present moment, right? And that requires using your senses, you know. So like walking outside with no shoes on, especially if it's been raining, so you're paying attention to how the grass feels under your feet, right? Is it prickly? Is it cool? Like, what does that feel like? Or even walking around your house with no shoes. Do you have carpet? Does it feel soft, right? Do you have tiles? Does it feel cold? Or if you're drinking coffee, not just drinking your coffee, but actually savoring that, right? Is there hazelnut in this coffee? Is there nutmeg in here, right? Again, because what's happening, that's anchoring you into the here and now, right? Because you're like, ooh, 5 more minutes? Okay. Like, what am I tasting, right? What am I hearing? Anybody here likes to go for walks? Yeah. So a great way to practice grounding when you're walking is not listening to music, but just walking and paying attention to, what am I hearing? Do I hear the trees rustling? Do I hear the wind? Is there an airplane flying over my head, right? Like, is there a dog barking? Do I hear someone walking behind me? What do I smell right now, right? Do you see how that's anchoring you in the present moment because you're focused on the here and now? Yeah?
It makes me think about my mom asked me one day, when was the last time you breathed?
Yeah, ooh, that's so good.
And I was like, I'm always breathing.
Yeah.
Oh, you're done now. But no, I'm a clown, y'all. I like to have fun. But my mom, she asked me, she's like, Candace, when was the last time you breathed? And at first I didn't understand her question, but when she asked me again and I asked her, explain to me what you mean, and I hadn't done it in quite a while, so I like the whole grounding thing.
So, you know, deep breathing, grounding, prayer, meditation, worship music. Anybody here love worship music? Yeah? Yeah. Anything else that you would add to this list? What are some things, let's maybe share. What are some things that you do to navigate stress? Maybe other people can gather some ideas from each other. Is there anything that you would add to the list?
I like bubble baths.
Oh, yeah.
When I'm really, really stressed, it's like, okay, in the tub, in the bubbles, don't bother me for an hour.
Yes. I feel like with bubble baths, it's either you love it or you don't love it. But I'm with you. I love a good bubble bath. Yeah. Anybody? Elise, I feel like you were going to say something.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I listen to like calming music like rain.
Yeah, like lo-fi or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I go outside in the backyard and I grab my spiral and I sit on the ground and I listen to everything around me and just write.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Sorry about that. How managing stress can be helpful. Oh, I think we're almost done, so I don't know. But improved physical health, right? Because some of us, when we're stressed, maybe we're overeating, undereating, eating the Chick-fil-A too much, right? High cholesterol, pre-diabetes, blood sugar levels going up because we're eating all this stuff, right? Weight management, reduced anxiety, improved relationships if we're not irritable, right? And having short fuses. So there's that, and then when to seek professional help. I'm curious, how would you guys know? I'd be like, you know what? I think maybe I should go to counseling or something. How would you know? Where is your limit that says, maybe I should be curious about this? How would you know? If you've ever been to therapy before, what drove you there? Like, how did you know that, I think maybe now might be a good time?
When you can't process and, I guess, get out of it on your own.
Yeah.
If you are going through and
it's still weighing you down and
Yeah.
you still can't function, okay, now maybe it's time to go seek some help.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Good. I always say, like, whenever it starts to impact your functioning, you know? Because stress is normal. We all experience stressors, but when it starts impacting the sleep, the appetite, the emotions, you know, how we regulate, that definitely is a time to seek that. So this here is the resource page that I was telling you all about. And on the very last page, if you would be so inclined to do that, if you want to give me any feedback about our talk today, if there was anything that you loved, that you were like, this was great, Jewel. If there's anything that you're like, maybe do better on this next time, I welcome all of it. But it's been a joy to talk with you all. Do you have any questions or anything? No? I was so good. Y'all got no questions? Wow.
I have a comment.
Okay.
Thank you for helping me recognize what I'm going through.
Aw, you're
And
welcome.
a lot of the stuff we've discussed today, I realized that's me.
Aw.
That's me too.
Aw.
So now I know there's like Candace was saying, there's a label on it. It's kind of like, you know, your stomach hurts, you go to the doctor because you know that's not normal.
Exactly.
And now having gone through this session, I know that a lot of the stuff I'm going through
Yeah.
is not normal and it's stress connected.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a help.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for being such great engagers. Thank you. Yeah.